there's a time when we move from business operation into true business ownership. And what that requires you to do is that requires you to scale what you're doing inside out so that others can do what you do. The easiest way to explain is 95% of the population, when they get up in the morning, they want to get in their car, they want to drive down the road, they want to pull in the office, they want to do A, B, and C. That ABC is going to give them an XYZ paycheck, and they're going to get, 2.5 kids, husband or a wife, a cat, a dog, maybe both. They want to buy a home, they want to take a vacation, then they want to retire. And that's it. Absolutely nothing wrong with that, right? It's not a better than, it's not a worse than, that's not what this is about. But about 3 to 7% of the population, the first thing they do is they learn to go off-road, right? I don't need your corporate infrastructure. I don't need any product offering from anybody else. I can go generate value, create currency through that value without any help from. Now we know no man, no woman is an island, right? It's a metaphor, but they learn to go off-road, right? But for them to truly feel what it feels to be a true business owner, they have to learn how to build roads. Because if you don't learn how to build roads, nobody else can get to where you're at. And when I say roads, I'm talking about people, process, right, systems and strategy, and culture. Right? If you don't have these things embedded into your business in a way that works for you, then what ends up happening is, imagine as a business owner, like you're the best hire that your company has ever made, because you didn't hire yourself for customer service, you didn't hire yourself for sales. Well, you're in sales, but you hired yourself for those and then everything else. So if something doesn't get done in the business, guess who feels that up? Right, you do. So what happens is, as business owners, we start to grab onto what we know works, right? And then what happens is, over time, as we grow the business, we start to see a separation. And inside that separation, we start to see cracks where fires develop. Right, then you end up quote unquote putting out fires, right? And as you continue to grow and continue to scale, that the space in your company becomes wider and wider, the cracks become more defined, they become deeper, the fires get bigger and bigger and more pronounced. And as a business, if you're lucky, now this is the key, 96% of all businesses fail within 10 years, right? But if you're lucky, worst case scenario, you find yourself in a state where you're holding on to as well as you can, because it's about control. Right? Well, growth and control work inversely. The more growth you have, the less control you have. The more control you have, the less growth you have. They work inversely. Right? So you try to hold on as best as you can. And what ends up happening is, then when you reach that stage where you've hit your bandwidth, your capacity, what most business operators do is they start to juggle. Yeah, exactly. And so you start to let go of one, grab the other. Let go of one, grab the other, so that you can continue to grow the business farther and farther. And so what happens now is, now you're playing a juggling act, and now you have the fires to put out. Exactly. And so that is the worst possible way to grow a business. Most business operators grow their business by default. In other words, they're just reacting. Right. How do you as a business leader know what to focus on every day? Right, you're just chasing the green, right? Whatever's the greenest. Right, exactly. And so that leads you down the road to just reacting to what is the most profitable next step. Right. Well, what ends up happening is next step. It's like I work for Gateway Computers, and I used to go on these marketing calls, and they go, well, we're cheaper, and then HP will go, well, we're cheaper, now we're cheaper, now we're cheaper, now we're cheaper, now we're out of business, now so are we. Right? That's a race to the bottom. And that's just one example of how reacting to your surroundings are not safe. As a business operator, to truly transform into a business owner, you have to be able to let go of control to gain what we call oversight. Right? Because if you don't have oversight, it's the only way you can get to true ownership. So what happens is, since you don't have oversight, right, you don't know that your team is on their A game, whether you're there or not, then you're constantly putting your hands in, you're constantly got control, you're constantly making sure everything's done the way that you need it to get done, right? And you spend your whole day making sure that everything stays right there and nothing slips out, and you catch it and you bring it back in, right? And anything that gets away, you bring back in before it becomes a problem, right? Well, there's a couple problems with that. One, that's a terrible way to grow business. Losers react, leaders anticipate. The other problem with that is that we focus on what we're good at and we tend to ignore what we're not. Exactly. And so what ends up happening is we grab the things we see, but what about the things that you don't see? Because it's not what you don't know that will ruin a business. It's what you don't know that will ruin a business. And until you find a way to get what's in your head out and allow you, the business leader, to step back and drive the company forward through your team and give it its own organism, allow it the ability to grow, scale, and then breathe, what will end up happening is you're going to spend your day putting out fires. And hear me now, believe me later, like I get the call, like Tony gets the call. We get the call when they're down the road, they're successful in their business if they're lucky, right? But they're miserable. Because the business isn't growing the way they want it to grow. It's not growing at the capacity and the scale they wanted it to grow. And so what ends up happening is they end up burning out. And then I'll get the call, I'll go, yeah. They'll go, yeah, that's just, I want to grow my business, I want to double my business, but I don't want to work with anybody. And I'll go, well, why don't you want to work with anybody? Because that doesn't work, right? In my industry, it doesn't work. Oh, really? It doesn't work. Okay, well, what have you tried? Well, I tried everything. You tried everything, right? Okay, well, what specifically did you try? And they go, well, I tried this and this. Well, that's two things, first off. That's not everything, right? It's just two things. And so first off, you didn't try everything. And what happens is we make this decision that says, well, that's just not applicable. We pull either the industry won't support business ownership, or I don't have that capacity or that desire. And then you pull back and you limit yourselves. Now, the reason why business owners fail, the reason why business owners find themselves in a situation where they lower their expectations, or where they take big hits, or they burn out, or they tire, or they end up leaving the industry, is because they don't have the skills and the tools and the knowledge necessary to adjust the business model, and they keep doing the things they're doing, and doing what you're doing got you where you're at. It won't get you where you're going. You've got to understand that there are stages of development in a business when what you were doing is not what you need to be doing to get to the next stage. And until you operate from that capacity, you'll continue to have the problems that you're telling me that you're having now.